Let's talk about housing in New York City. I recently attended a panel hosted by New York Focus called "The Rent is Too Damn High." It brought together some of the sharpest minds in housing policy to dig into one of the most pressing issues facing the city. Right now, more than half of New York City renters spend over 30% of their income on rent. The median asking rent is around $3,500 a month. The vacancy rate is just 1.4%, the lowest since 1965, and nearly 102,000 people sleep in city shelters each night. So, why are rents so high? Alex Armlovich says the problem is structural.
What we have right now is a mixture of housing underproduction and extremely high rents. Decades and decades of underbuilding and rent gouging together, leading to extreme unaffordability both for home buying and for renting. We have a bunch of laws that we passed in the middle of the 20th century that set the number of houses that are allowed in the city. And so if prices go up, you can't just go, oh wow, I'm going to compete with that landlord and build a home and rent it for a little bit less, try to undercut each other. Instead, only the number of houses you're allowed to build by law can actually enter the market. And so prices can go as high as people will bear because there's no competitive check on what you could charge for rent.
For him, the supply gap is the core distortion, but Cheney says supply alone won't fix everything.
There's two strategies. One is like, what can the government do to encourage more housing development? More supply overall will help prices come down generally. And the other is, how do you create housing that is affordable to people with low incomes? And that's through different types of subsidy, rental assistance, subsidized affordable housing, where the government's helping pay the cost of the housing, programs like that that help the people with the lowest incomes afford housing. The people that are most cost burdened are at the lowest incomes, so that's where you really want to target your affordable housing, but that's where it's the most expensive. If the rent you're collecting is less than the operating cost, then you need extra subsidy on top of that.
Even if the market worked perfectly, the poorest New Yorkers would still need help. Then there's economist Dr. Emily Eisner, who says we're dealing with multiple crises at once.
It's a little bit like having a patient in the ER who's like bleeding out and having a heart attack at the same time, and so you have to figure out what you need to address first. Government needs to attack it from three sides. So one side is increasing the amount of the supply of housing itself. There's been not enough building of housing for like 2 decades, and because of that, the whole market is out of whack. Then there's rent regulation, which got a lot of play during the election. We absolutely should use rent regulation to make sure that people's rents stay reasonable. The final tool is what I'm going to call subsidization, and that can either happen in the form of vouchers or in subsidizing buildings, and then they keep their rents low because they're receiving the subsidy. So those are the big 3 buckets of housing policy, and honestly, they need to be doing all 3.
This housing crisis is complicated, and that complexity is exactly why conversations like this matter. The more we're willing to engage with the nuance, the closer we get to real solutions. Because this isn't just about rent, it's about who gets to stay and who gets pushed out. Not just here in New York, but everywhere across the country. So that's kind of interesting.